Plastered across Twitter and Instagram feeds, the Black woman in luxury aesthetic has become a mood board for Black women everywhere who aspire to live in a carefree prosperity. Social media accounts and influencers at the forefront of this aesthetic offer a new lens through which we view Black women, with the Black women in luxury accounts in particular encouraging their audience to dream big and unapologetically. Amassing over 65,000 followers across Twitter and Instagram, at Black Women in Luxury has become a favorite for new fans who want to envision a life full of luxury, leisure, and abundance, an ethos its online magazine, Noir Magazine, promotes. What luxury looks like, however, has yet to be determined. For Noir, it is defined as living according to your true desires and not settling for the bare minimum, explains Jade Orogun, the social media editor of the magazine. For some, this means prioritizing your mental well-being, and for many, it means including and indulging in the finest things the world has to offer. The magazine's Instagram page is filled with pictures set against the backdrop of envy-inducing holidays with women dressed to the nines, often toting designer items. One of these women is Yvonne Victoria, a digital content creator, a self-possessed lady of leisure. Yvonne admits that while she does love a lavish holiday and designer bits, luxury is ultimately a state of mind. So many of us aren't always at peace, so when you experience true peace, I do think it's a luxury, she says. Unfortunately, the experience of Black women across the world is one so often devoid of peace. The murder of Breonna Taylor, mummification of Megan Thee Stallion shooting, and the non-stop racial harassment of Diane Abbott all show that Black women have yet to be protected or respected in society. With lazy, misogynistic portrayals still prevalent in mainstream media, there's so little space for Black women to be our authentic selves, outside of what is expected of us. But social media has changed the game. Black women have high influence, presence, and more control over the narrative, says Jade, who was a travel and lifestyle content creator herself. On social media, there are creators and platforms uplifting Black womanhood more drastically. With the ability to show their own success and excellence, Black women are creating a narrative that mainstream media will hopefully soon follow. Yvonne believes that that's why this luxury aesthetic is so key for young Black women. We're all very tired of the same narrative because this isn't the story of every Black woman. With Black Lives Matter, I came across so many inspiring Black women that were creating the content I like. Now I am constantly surrounded by so many Black women succeeding. Social media influencers like Melissa of Melissa's Wardrobe, the stylist responsible for Stormzy's greatest ensembles, have empowered Black women everywhere to want better for themselves. Tap through Melissa's Instagram story and you'll see the phrases, "It's a lifestyle, hun," and "Melanin made me do it," repeated endlessly. Two models encouraging followers to splurge on whatever makes them feel good, whether it's fine dining or a face scrub. Melissa makes her success seem very achievable and realistic. She is literally everybody's favorite and the one Black woman I look to for luxury content as Yvonne. In an influencer space that is overpopulated with white women creating luxury content, Melissa is a breath of fresh air. For so long, this aesthetic has unconsciously associated wealth with whiteness. The difference in followings of Black and white influencers creating similar content speaks to the false belief that luxury is not for us, so much so that Black women continue to be interrogated about their wealth and success. When YouTuber Erica J tweeted about purchasing her new Tesla, she was forced to record herself driving in it after claims that she was lying, something Yvonne mentions white women have never had to deal with. I find it interesting that these discussions are being had when it comes to Black women with wealth. Black women should be able to live the life they want without constant judgment, Yvonne says. Hanaya Angus, a cultural critic and filmmaker, argues that these discussions are necessary because luxury was never meant to be accessible for the Black community. Luxury is inherently based on class. It's based on not everyone having it. So you can't redefine something that is supposedly for the 1% when it's exclusive. For Hanaya, the way the community engages and identifies with material wealth has been damaged because of external factors. When you look at it from a Caribbean Afro-American point of view, there's a bunch of generational wealth that's been erased through slavery, civil rights, etc. And looking at Africa through colonialism, it's also been erased. So when people become immigrants, there's a lot of economic anxiety where they think they need to have money and make sure that they're successful. And that's passed down through generations and generations. While the aesthetic of luxury can be inspirational for Black women who want to redefine how the world sees them, it can also create a pressure for them to invest in more than they are capable of. Instead of focusing on luxury, she believes we should look to self-care first. It's okay if you've never had $1 million in your life, but that doesn't mean you can't engage in self-care by meditating, by listening to a podcast, by getting a facial, by going to a therapist. The things that help you mentally get through what you deal with as a Black woman. However, it might be defined and practiced. The aesthetic of Black women in luxury acts as another form of escapism that provides us with what the world constantly denies us. The creation of this content gives us the tools necessary to rewrite our narrative. As Jade expresses, platforms like Noir redefine Black womanhood outside of portrayed stereotypes and biases. Having representation of a diverse range of Black women living according to their goals and dreams helps me manifest it for myself and my future. So together we just read the article, Why the Black Women in Luxury Movement is So Necessary, available on blackballad.co.uk. Black Ballad is an online publication based in the United Kingdom. And this was a really interesting article that I deeply appreciated because the author shares many of my same thoughts about Black women in luxury spaces or Black women in luxury content. I do think that this content is important. I do think that these conversations are important. I do understand the socio-economic and social political critiques of the content. But again, why are we always doing this to each other, to ourselves, to Black women? We are not critiquing non-Black people who create this content in the same way. We're just not. And I know people want to argue that, yeah, even non-Black creators who, participate in overconsumption and yada, 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 get critiqued. But it's like, do they really? Are there essays getting written about it? Like, are they? I don't think so, sweetheart. I really don't think so. I don't think it's the same. And I want us to just be able to admit that it's not the same. It's not the same. Nobody said the Black women in luxury movement is about to solve our problems, but no one said it couldn't help us start conversations to start solving the problems. I think Black women deserve the escapism, but I also believe that Black women shouldn't be apologizing. Like, the fact that Erica J had to really sit up on the internet and prove to y'all that she actually bought a Tesla and wasn't just like posing in a picture of one is absolutely disgusting. It wasn't white people coming at Erica J talking about, you don't really got no Tesla, you didn't really buy no Tesla. It was us. It was her own people, the very people that she works so diligently for, telling her, I don't believe you bought a Tesla. I don't believe you own a Tesla. I don't believe you got enough money to maintain a Tesla. I don't believe that. That is crazy. Like, that to me is absolutely wild. It is absurd. It is an insult. It's so disrespectful. And we continue to do this. And sometimes I think the discourse being had that's supposed to be like the political, whatever unpacking and contextualizing of the movement is doing the same thing. Sometimes it comes off to me as very bullyish. It doesn't really come off to me as productive conversation. And I wouldn't even really say, it's jealousy, because it's not always that. But it's just like, damn, y'all. Can we just leave Black women alone? Like, can Black women also leave Black women alone sometimes when they're just out here being happy and being at rest and flourishing? Can we let aspirational content just be aspirational content? Again, I understand the personal is political, but can we just let things be what they are without trying to say, oh, well, since now we're calling it a movement, here are all the politics behind it. Da-da-da. Hey, listen, hey. People making that content aren't like discussing that, then that's not what the content is about. I really feel like people are starting to change what the Black women in luxury content is about and what it's really doing. You are like, people are putting their own stuff onto the content, onto the movement, and I just don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. Do we have to always critique our aspirational content this heavily to where we can't even enjoy it anymore? To where if you repost somebody who got a new, I don't know, luxury apartment, or somebody who just bought a new car, where you reposting that, retweeting that, now gets you a bunch of mentions and replies about how this is so elitist and capitalist and anti. Yo, sis, hey, listen, do we not live in America? Bro, I get that. I get all of that. I literally get all of that. But I'm just happy this black woman has the money to afford herself more than one car or more than one home. Good for her. Glad for sis. Because you know what? They don't even want us to even be here. So I'm glad that she's here and is doing above and beyond being here. Love that for her. But can we just love that for her sometimes? There's another really excellent article on blackgirlsaroundtheworld.com. And I also want to read that to you all today, too. The paradox of black women in luxury movement. What does luxury mean to you? By definition, the word means a state of great comfort or elegance, especially when involving great expense. However, the world chooses to define the word luxury, be it through designer items that can be paid for at the drop of a hat, or through island hopping to destinations that many can only dream of. Luxury isn't something that is often associated with black women due to the many social and systematic things that hinder us from being comfortable or presented as elegant, until most recently. In a social media age where excess is everything and the quality of your life is often determined by the strategic placement of the photos you share, we are seeing a lot more black women embracing luxury in all of its glory. From designer clothes to the exotic vacations that have found its way on everyone's mood board, seeing black women embrace luxury and enjoy the finer things in life is great to see in a world that often told us that these things weren't for us, and provides a nice little boost of positivity and happiness across our social media feeds, especially because it's the opposite to the images that people are used to seeing of us. Black people are typically not thought to be able to afford the items associated with luxury living, but we are seeing that change, particularly among black women who are thriving in their careers and have more disposable wealth to afford such luxuries, and it provides an image of black womanhood which isn't filled with struggle and sacrifice. These images of black women embracing luxury has become a movement championed by women who live that life and those who aspire to access it. Right now, a black woman sharing an image with a Louis Vuitton bag while sitting in an expensive car is seen as so much more than having a fancy bag and an even fancier car. It signals to the world that black women deserve to enjoy the finer things in life and that we can with ease. But the more we focus on the materialism of it all, are we taking away from the importance of prioritizing luxury for black women in fields of real importance? After all, buying expensive things doesn't change the positionality of black women as a whole. Time and time again, we have seen that economic progress and change of class status doesn't stop racism and patriarchy from permeating their way into the lives of black women. Black women deserve luxury outside of just designer handbags and clothes. We deserve luxury in the healthcare system. Instead, our pain is ignored and we are made to sit in our discomfort. We deserve luxury in the workplace. Instead, there are microaggressions and lack of diversity, and yes, we deserve luxury items as well. In the midst of the black women and luxury movement, there has been conversations around black women wearing bonnets in airports. Being able to afford to fly is already a luxury within itself, but somehow a black woman partaking in this activity is devalued because she's wearing something that is mostly only used by black women. This is just further proof of the paradox of black women in luxury. Despite our willingness and ability to afford the finer things in life, it's often marred by a discourse that aims to diminish us and is something we should question. After all, how luxurious is the expensive trip when you're harassed in the airport for wearing a bonnet or having your hair searched on the way there? How luxurious is the handbag you purchased when you were followed around the store the entire time you were shopping for it? How luxurious was the spa when you had to ride to a place where you were the only black person near for miles? Comfort and elegance is a lot more complex when we enter luxurious spaces, and the luxury rarely extends to all aspects of our lives. Although the photo ops are great and I enjoy the fleeting feeling of euphoria when I see black women living their best lives on the gram, I'm reminded that it often only goes so far and doesn't really change the state that Black women are in. It's not to say that we should stop basking in the luxury we can afford, but it's key to make sure that this movement extends far beyond materialism. It's only through systemic change that Black women can really live a life of luxury. We must fight for luxury to be a norm for Black women across the board, not just a perfectly posed setup for a picture. And I really love this article because I think it respectfully is speaking to, making those critiques, but also emphasizing the importance, though, of the movement. Like, people who there really are people who are calling, like, we need to stop participating in the movement. It's terrible. Like, we should support women who are doing this. And I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not right. I don't like that. For example, Patricia Bright absolutely fits into the Black woman and luxury aesthetic, if you ask me. And Patricia Bright, understanding her influence, understanding her position, understanding the position of Black women as a whole, took it upon herself to make a second platform, The Break, on YouTube. And on this second platform, on this second channel, The Break, she sits down and talks about finance, career, and personal development. Patricia Bright said, I understand that there are systematic reasons why many Black women are not at the level that I am at. It's not that they're incapable, right? It is absolutely not that they are incapable, but it is because they don't have access or broader access to the information that I have had. And Patricia Bright's, career before she was on YouTube, she was a banker. She worked in finances, okay? Sis was an economic analyst. Like, Patricia Bright was a girl, right? So she could have easily kept posting the bags, kept doing the hauls, kept doing the home tours. She could have just kept talking about the wealth she was amassing, but she did that and decided to educate Black women on how she did it. And she doesn't sugarcoat it. She's not telling you to manifest it. Although she talks about that, she also she also makes it clear, like, yes, that is valid. That is a real thing. It does work. Manifestation is real. But also, y'all, I have knowledge about things that I know most of us don't have knowledge on. And instead of putting it behind a paywall, I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to create these more podcast style videos. I'm going to create, some short but also long form content about finance, about real estate, about financial literacy, just about business, just general business and career advice. I'm going to teach y'all as best I can about how I have achieved all that I have. And then you can take whatever you are learning from me, whatever you are receiving from me, and you can push it forward. You can catapult it. May you become even better than I am. That has been her messaging from day one since Patricia Bright has started The Break. And I think that's amazing. I understand that we want to go beyond the bags. So let us uplift the Black women who are going beyond the bags. Patricia Bright said, I can get a Birkin bag and I can also sit down and teach y'all how I am able to afford a Birkin bag. Right? Because that's really what we were concerned about. How do we change our position, right? Where Black women are positioned right now in society as a whole, in America, in the UK, just in the world. How do we go about changing that? What are the things that most of us don't have access to, that if we had access to it, we could change our position, not just for the individual, but for the collective? And I think Patricia Bright's platform, The Break, does a really excellent job at assessing that. At trying to answer those questions. She's doing the best she can, y'all, right? But she's sharing that knowledge. And she's not the only one. But again, like I said in my previous video, I think a lot of times, y'all, we want to sit here and say, oh, nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. No one's talking about it. All they're talking about is the bags and the money and the Birkins and the hair and the whatever. And it's like, no, but that's not true. Like, that's literally not true. And Patricia Bright is a dark-skinned Black woman who embraces her natural hair, because there's been that, Twitter responded and said, there's not enough Black women in the luxury space who are embracing their natural hair. Patricia Bright does. Why nobody talk about Patricia Bright? Why y'all not reposting her every day? Why y'all not supporting and uplifting her content all the time? Okay. Interesting. It just sounds to me like y'all are saying nobody is doing it, except there's somebody who's been doing it quite diligently for years now. But I don't see y'all boosting her. I'm not seeing it. Where y'all not boosting her? Because when I was going through Twitter for my like Black Twitter response video in this series, I was, paying attention to what names are being dropped. And it's like, they were the names I expected. And most of those women were not brown-skinned women. Most of them were biracial women that y'all were mentioning. And the women who were mentioning them were not biracial themselves. And I'm just like, again, y'all are consuming media by people who are not your representative, and then you're asking or expecting them to represent you. Stop it. How about you go support the media created by someone who is more your representative? How about you do that? Maybe that would help you. Maybe we would have some different critique. That's my opinion. Like, maybe we would have some different critique if we were engaging with different kind of media, because it is out there. It does exist, y'all. It absolutely does.